All right, well, it's been nearly a year since I purchased the CForce 500, and I wanted to do basically a one-year ownership review of how my experience has been with it thus far. And I guess I'll tell you right off the bat, experiences has been good. I really don't have a lot to complain about with this four-wheeler. It's been fun, it's been great to own, and yeah, I really don't have any huge gripes or haven't had any huge problems with it. So this is a 2022 model CForce 500. It's got about 375 miles on it. I guess 275 of those have been me. So first off, probably the most important is the power. So I definitely think the power is adequate for a 500 machine. It's not going to blow you away by any means, but it definitely gets up and goes, and I think it's plenty of power for just trail riding. You know, if you're just kind of putting around like I do, just kind of getting out to enjoy the scenery and maybe get on it a few times to kind of rally it a little bit, it'll do that just fine. And overall, as a full package with the CVT, I feel like the machine runs pretty smooth. Really no problems, in high or low gear or reverse. Relatively smooth. However, I will say in reverse it is a bit jerky. You kind of get that lurching back and forth when you're trying to feather it. For example, when I'm trying to park it in my garage, I got to be paying attention, or otherwise I'll put it in the drywall. So it is a little bit jerky in reverse, but when you're just riding on the trail, I would say it's relatively smooth. No complaints there. The engine braking, like I've said before in other videos, I do like how this machine engine brakes. Now, having only 375 miles on it, that might, with higher mileage, that might differ. So moving on from there would be the ride quality. I would say this machine rides a bit on the stiff side. Travel numbers, it's actually decent if you look at other machines. This one actually is kind of on the higher end of travel numbers. Not that that really means a ton, but it does ride a little bit on the stiff side. But that doesn't mean that it's not enjoyable to ride. It's just if you ride for a decent a longer ride, you will feel it in your back the next day. But that's a lot of machines, honestly. I wish the manufacturers would calibrate their suspension more towards leisurely riding, especially on these sport utility machines with the independent rear suspension. I feel like they should calibrate their springs and shocks more towards comfort rather than utility, or even sporty handling. I don't know, particularly on a 500 machine. I don't think anybody's going to be rallying this thing too hard, so it would be nice if the manufacturers would kind of pay more attention to the ride quality. So I guess that's kind of a little bit of a complaint I have, is that it does ride a little stiff. I have looked into maybe putting some Elka shocks on it, but I've never convinced myself to pull the trigger. Along with ride quality, I guess let's talk about these tires that are on here. So these are a Chinese made tire. Let me see them upside down. Shadows in the way. Yangzing, or however you're supposed to pronounce that. So these are basically a Bighorn knockoff. I was kind of wondering how these would perform, and in my opinion, they actually perform well in just about all conditions. I haven't had them on sand. I haven't driven them in deep snow, so I can't really talk about that. But for basically just, rocks and dirt and some mud, they perform pretty good. Now I've got 6 pounds in the front and 4.5 psi in the back, and that's kind of where I like to ride. You still kind of keep that handling characteristic of keeping a little bit more air in the sidewall, and then you kind of get a squishier feel out back, more for ride quality. But yeah, these tires have, they're not bad, and that's why I haven't really changed them. I feel like they perform just fine. For a stock tire, I think they're really good actually for a stock tire. And you'll probably easily get 500 miles out of these tires. So the ride quality there, no complaints really with tires. Suspension's a little on the stiff side. Handling, it's not real floaty, and that's probably due to the stiffer suspension. Handling, like I say, I kind of just more cruise around, just kind of enjoy the scenery. I don't really hammer it too much, so it does what I need it to do. I also like kind of the functionality that this machine has. I do really like these plastic racks. Haven't had any problems with them. They're, really rigid and stiff. Seem like they'd take a beating. As you can see here, I've mounted my own kind of storage bin onto it with these quick connect. I jimmy rigged, something. Personally, I didn't buy the CFmoto connectors, but it works pretty good. So I do like that. I do like this storage compartment. Holds a lot of stuff. LED lights are sweet. The lights on this is, really nice. And along with the functionality, I'd say is, the switch gear. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's got a nice tactile feel to it. All the buttons are nice. They don't feel cheap. So, and I haven't had any problems with them. They are backlit, which is kind of cool. At night you can see, this is your off, your high beams, low beams. You can see that while you're riding at night. Also with functionality, I love that this machine comes with a 12 volt and 2 USBs. I do charge my camera and my phone. I have my phone up here on this mount, and I'll actually run a cord to it and charge it while I'm riding. Because if you're searching for service, your battery on your phone drains pretty fast. So that's nice to have. Trying to think what else. Functionality wise, the winch, I've never really had to use it. It works. I messed with it one time just for fun. It seems kind of like a cheap winch. Doesn't have a ton of power. So, I don't know. Would it get you out of a bind? Probably. But I don't know how long that winch would last. Now, I will also say one of the complaints I've had is this shifter. In my opinion, it's not that great. When I first bought this machine, and if you've seen my previous videos, I was having problems with it kicking out of low gear. Suddenly I'd be going up a hill and all of a sudden it would pop out of low gear. But I figured out, with the help of one of you guys, is that if you actually shove it all the way to the top here and let it roll back, it stays in low gear. I haven't had a problem ever since I started doing that. However, it is stiff, or it binds up, I should say. So if you're ever like on a weird incline or a decline where your machine's not sitting level, trying to move this shifter from low to reverse or reverse to park or whatever is a pain in the butt. So that's probably my biggest complaint with this 500, is this shifter is not my favorite. Can you live with it? Yes. But that's probably my biggest complaint. So now, reliability, I know everybody kind of has a negative stigma with CFmoto. This is my first CFmoto machine, so I can't really say how reliable they are or aren't. But me personally, I haven't had any issues with this machine besides one mechanical issue, and it's really not that big. So when I first bought this machine and was riding it, there was a small seep coming from this half shaft area right here. I just recently cleaned the machine, so there's really no buildup of any kind of oil there. And the last couple rides I've been paying attention to see if it's leaking, and I haven't really noticed a ton of leakage at all. So So I haven't messed with it. I'm sure the seal in here probably needs to be replaced. I'm sure it was probably bad from the factory or something. But it's not leaking to the point where I'm concerned, and I've checked the levels in here and it's fine. So that's really the only issue I've had, other than a few small issues, which if you look at my other video, you can see those issues I had, but they're relatively small. So, it started every time, it's ran, it's never, died or cut out on me or anything like that. 4-wheel drive has always worked. It's always shifted into gear. And, it doesn't have any, squeaks or pops or rattles or anything like that. So, reliability wise, it's been great with the year I've had it and the 275 miles that I've ridden it. So I guess long story short, would I buy it again? Yeah, I'd probably buy it again. For the price, like I bought it used, paid $5,500 for it, which I think was a steal. This is the 2022, had 100 miles on it. So me personally, yeah, I would buy it again. I've had a great experience with it. Debating on whether or not I want to just keep it or if I want to sell it and maybe try something different just for the hell of it. So I've been looking, online and seeing if there's any other used machines that are, 1 or 2 years old that somebody's trying to offload that maybe I could get a decent deal on. But yeah, guys, I wouldn't shy away from these CF Moto 500s. It's been a good machine. I think you'd have fun if you kind of do what I do and, ride around on trails. Maybe you want a hunting rig, or, just something, kind of like a family machine that you can go out and maybe take your kids on or have your wife ride or something. I think this is a perfect machine for that. That's what I do with it. I take it camping. I ride it with my little boy. And we just go up and down the trails and on forest roads and whatnot. And it's been great. It's been fun. So anyways, this has kind of been my year review and my experience. So hopefully if you're looking at one of these machines, it kind of helps you decide whether or not to pull the trigger on it. If you have any questions or comments, let us know in the comment section. If this is helpful, give it a like. Thanks and have a good one.